Hypnosis works, transforming the mind.
Hi there, I'm Hendrik Baird, a practicing non-medical hypnotherapist currently based in Pretoria, South Africa. I'm always curious to learn more about hypnosis, and so I thought, what better way to learn than to chat with other hypnotherapists to gain some insights into what they do and how they work. So join me as we explore the fascinating world of the mind and of hypnosis. And my guest today is hypnotherapist Hendrik Baird. That's right, I'm chatting to myself. Hi Hendrik, and welcome to this podcast. Thank you, Hendrik. I thought you'd never ask me for an interview, and I'm really so glad to have this opportunity to also, chat a bit about hypnosis and hypnotherapy. And I've been listening to all the interviews that you've been having with the other hypnotherapists so far. And I'm also quite keen to share my story. Well, I am very keen to hear your story. It's going to be a revelation to me to hear, what this other part of me has to say regarding his journey in hypnosis and hypnotherapy. So let's start by you telling me a little bit about your history, where you come from, and how you got involved in hypnosis and hypnotherapy. Well, Hendrik, I've got to take you back to primary school, really. I think I was standard 1 or standard 2 or somewhere there. I was always a big reader, and I read so much. I started playing the piano from a very young age, taught myself how to play the piano, and learned so much from books. I used to say my second house was the library. And I found a book on magic. I am very intrigued by magic tricks from a very young age, and I've been a magician most of my life. I love doing children's parties, and I've done all the arts festivals and lots of shows on stage and whatever. So I love performing, and I eventually studied drama, but let me not get ahead of myself. So I found this book on hypnosis in the library. And I thought, well, this is interesting. Let me try it out on my sister. My sister is a few years younger than me. And so I remember quite clearly the day I asked her to lay down on the bed, and she promptly followed that suggestion. And then I did this whole induction, and it was a whole thing. I remember it was about the sea and the waves and feeling the breeze and all that sort of imagery. And then it looked like she was fast asleep, and I panicked a little bit. I didn't know what to do next, so I just left her. She did, of course, wake up a little while later, and when I asked her what had happened, she said no, she was fully aware of what was going on. She felt the breeze, she heard the waves. It was a magical experience for her. It was weird because I didn't know what to use hypnosis for. It was just one of those things that I tried, and I thought, well, let me move on. So I did. I played the piano quite a bit. I did lots of magic. I got involved in theatre, performance at school and debating, and eventually went to study drama. I got an honours degree in drama, and then went to become an actor. Eventually ended up in community arts, worked in the Northwest province for a very long time. I ran a very successful developmental arts festival called the Northwest Cultural Calabash, which was sponsored by the Department of Arts and Culture and the Transnet Foundation, and worked really hard in those areas. And then, being a gay man, I got involved in sort of gay politics, if you want to call it that. We started an organization called Gay Umbrella and worked in the Northwest Province doing HIV prevention work. We did a few functions and events. We organized the first gay pride in Mafeking, and teamed up with an organization called Out LGBT Wellbeing, for which I also worked for a while. And then I realized, it's time for me to make a change in my life. And I've always had this deep-seated desire to help people. And so I was looking for some way in which I could do that. I did a lot of research, looked at iridology and possibly setting up a health shop, all these sort of things. And then found the South African Institute of Hypnotism. And when I started digging, I saw that they were doing courses. So I promptly went to the first course, which was self-hypnosis. And then 2 years later, I had completed all the training modules and qualified as a non-medical hypnotherapist, and moved back to Pretoria at the beginning of 2011, where I took over a practice called Hypnosis Works. So hypnosis obviously does work, and that's why your practice is called Hypnosis Works. When I was speaking to other people in this podcast series, it seems to me everybody has a kind of a specialization. They kind of attract a certain kind of client with a certain kind of problem. Was that the same for you? Yes, Hendrik. In fact, I tended to see a lot of smokers for the 8 odd years I was running the practice in Pretoria. I used to be a smoker myself, and I'd done a lot of research as to how to do a stop smoking session, building on what we'd learned at SCI, and had developed my own kind of program and approach to stop smoking, which seemingly works really well. And I attracted a lot of smokers. I, of course, not only saw smokers, I saw a range of other things, from phobias and fear of driving, fear of flying, stage fright, those sort of things, through people with compulsive habits like hair pulling. I saw a few people with drug issues and alcohol problems, a lot of relationship problems, people trying to get over exes, people losing things and trying to remember where they put the gun or where did they put that 10,000 rand, or which always proved to be very interesting. Some teenagers too. I saw some children as well, bedwetting and those sort of things. I must say I'm not too big a fan of working with young children. Probably just a personal thing. I don't feel quite comfortable working with them. I'd rather work with teenagers and study methods and remembering things and stress for exams and those sort of things. So yeah, I saw a great many things, but about 60% of my clientele were smokers, and always interesting because the smokers would be very obvious that they didn't smoke anymore after a session with me. And then people would ask them, how did you do that? And once they'd heard that they had done that through hypnosis, people would contact me going, well, if so-and-so can stop smoking with hypnosis, then certainly I can solve my problem too. And I got a lot of referrals that way. So, Hendrik, talk to me about the business of hypnosis. How did you get your clients? Well, in the beginning, I did a lot of advertising on Google AdWords. I was a bit overeager and, of course, spent way too much money on that. But it did work. I had a really good website, which I'd inherited from the previous owner and which I'd built on. And my Google rankings were really good because of that. But I found that, over time, the practice kind of, I don't know, it's got to do with the economy, I think. I was really busy in the beginning, and then a year or 3 later, things started petering out, also because I had a major health issue. I had a heart attack in 2013 and double bypass surgery, which put me out for the count for a while. And that really had a big negative effect on my practice. I'm not quite sure why. I think my focus changed a little bit, and I had to take care of me. Even though, 2 days after coming out of the hospital, I had to see the first clients because obviously one has to pay the rent. But things changed for me a little bit, and then it changed quite dramatically because I got involved with an online radio station. And that was quite, it took over my life, really. And I spent all my energy in building up that whole endeavor to the point where I thought I needed more skills, and then went to Wits to study for a master's degree in media and journalism, specifically around radio and online radio. And so a lot of my time was taken up by the radio station, and I didn't really have so much time to put into the hypnosis practice. So you closed the practice for a while. Yes, indeed, I did, Hendrik. I moved to Cape Town because we were going to open an office in Cape Town for the radio station. Unfortunately, due to a lack of funding, that didn't quite work out. I thought I was going to start my practice again in Cape Town, and I did some advertising, but that really didn't take off. And then I didn't spend a long time in Cape Town, came back to Pretoria, and then worked at a center for people with Alzheimer's and dementia for a year. So I was completely out of the hypnosis business for at least 2-3 years. And it sort of came to a screeching halt in a way. So now, beginning of 2021, you decided to reopen your practice in the middle of a pandemic. Did you think that was a good idea? Well, actually, I'm not quite sure if that was such a great idea. I mean, sure, the pandemic has had a great effect on a detrimental effect on the economy. And what we do doesn't always come cheap. It's a very specialized modality, and it's very time intensive. So, you do tend to charge a few rand more than your average psychologist who's also got medical aids and things to lean on, whereas our services are not covered by medical aids. So, yeah, it's it's a bit of a challenge getting it back off the ground again, especially without no capital expenditure to do all the advertising and things. So it's really been finding different ways to get myself known, and I then realized that my specialized knowledge of media and journalism is actually a great advantage. And so I have started doing this podcast series. And I've also started writing articles. Okay, so let's talk about that a bit. The articles that you write, that's for the Find a Hypnotist website. Indeed it is, Hendrik. I thought, I've got great writing skills, and I was redesigning my website, and I thought, I need an outlet to promote hypnosis, myself specifically, of course, but the modality in general, and to demystify some of the misconceptions that people still have about hypnosis. So, the articles have proven to be a really interesting exercise because I need to do some research, and the more articles I write, the deeper I go into it. And the more serious it seems to be becoming, and the more I have to research all of these topics. For instance, at the moment, and I'm sure by the time this podcast goes out, it'll be well published, so you can go and look at it on the Find a Hypnotist website. But I'm doing an article now on post-traumatic stress syndrome, and it comes really from discussions I've had with people on the podcast and some of the issues they've raised there. So, doing just the research on that is taking forever because, once you start delving, you find things you didn't know, and then you read some more and you read some more. And, having done the research at Wits for the Masters has taught me how to read extensively and how to bring that all together into something cohesive that would make sense to somebody and would be worth something. So the articles I write is for the public, surely, and as I said, to demystify hypnosis. But I'm finding also it is a little bit geared towards the hypnotherapist too. I mean, this article I'm writing now, I found a great new technique, which I'm not sure how many of our local hypnotherapists know about, in dealing with trauma, stress, various issues, in fact, but specifically post-traumatic stress syndrome. And I thought, it would be kind of my duty to bring this to their attention and show them how, well, at least write about how to do it, with the hope that they would be able to use that information in their practice as well. Of course, all of this research is benefiting me because I'm learning new things which I didn't know before. So in a way, I'm deepening my understanding of hypnosis and hypnotherapy. And I'm really confident that this would have a very beneficial effect for the clients once they come back, that I could help them in a much more constructive way. And hypnosis works so quickly and so effectively. So it really is my passion to help people in this way. And by writing these articles, by learning all these things, I think I'm going to be a better hypnotherapist in future. Then, Hendrik, tell me about the podcast series. This is a really interesting development. And from what I understand, you've been getting a lot of support and compliments on this initiative that you're taking. Indeed, Hendrik, I'm not a podcaster. I don't listen to podcasts. I can't say I'm a podcast fan. I hardly listen to them, if I do at all. I did listen to one called Shit Town, which was absolutely amazing. 8 episodes of an hour each. It was like a documentary style. Fascinating. If you can ever listen to that, please do. Shit Town, it's called. Really, really great. And that's my ambition one day, to make a documentary, something in that style. But through my work at GSA Radio, I obviously have a lot of broadcasting skills, and I used to work as a voice artist in the old days. So it's kind of second nature to me to do these kind of things. And then I thought, Hypnotherapists are alone in their rooms. They do great work. Nobody knows about it. Other hypnotherapists barely know what they're doing, or know each other for that matter. We used to have some meetings here in Pretoria for the South African Guild of Hypnotists, but it only attracted people from, Pretoria. So getting to know and to meet and to understand other hypnotherapists and what they do and how they work, I think it's a very rare thing. And therefore, when I just one day thought, podcast, why don't you do a podcast? It's turned out to be such a valuable way for me, first of all, to learn from other people. Secondly, obviously, to bring to the attention of the public that there are people working in their areas that are doing wonderful work and specialize in certain things. I think it's a great way to network and to build networks between people. I think we are too isolated and we work way too much on our own. And it's creating a kind of a forum that way. So yeah, it's been an enriching experience. I've noticed some trends. I'm learning so much about how other people are approaching things. I can see the influence COVID-19 has. Oh yes, Hendrik, we'll talk about that more in a moment. Yes, I would love to talk about that. So yeah, it's really been an interesting process. And what I've learned at the radio is don't put yourself under pressure. So I have been recording furiously and scheduling far ahead so that I can do the marketing well in advance, so that I can do the packaging and the graphics and all of those design things that go around it, creating Facebook events. You can see all of the events. They come up on my Facebook page, which is Hypnosis Works South Africa. And of course, then also sending the links to the people that I've interviewed with the hope that they will embed the podcast on their websites as well, so that we can spread the word far and wide. And I've got my first international interview lined up for this coming week. So I'm sure that with time, it's going to spread to a worldwide thing. So, Hendrik, you were talking about COVID-19, and I know you wrote an article around, how COVID has changed the way that we deliver hypnosis. Talk to me about the influence of COVID and from your perspective, obviously, and how you've seen it based on the podcast interviews. Hendrik, yes, I wrote this article about Zoomnosis, as I call it. I've not been able to do that yet because I've got terrible connectivity here where I stay. Now that I've actually got rooms at Solo Oasis Urban Retreat, I can connect to their Wi-Fi, so it is still my ambition to do a Zoom session. But yeah, people are starting to do online hypnosis, and they say they have great results. They also start seeing people outside of their immediate areas. Some people are saying they're seeing people as far as Australia and the UK and other countries. So that certainly has made a big impact on the way we deliver hypnosis. But I also see it through the interviews. People are saying that the focus of their practices are changing because people are experiencing so much trauma because of COVID-19. People are passing away, family members are dying, people are landing on respirators, the healthcare workers are under great stress and strain, teachers are developing post-traumatic stress syndrome. There's all these things happening because of the virus and the pandemic. And the research I'm doing as well shows that, there is a whole area of trauma that is caused by pandemics. This is not the first one and certainly won't be the last one. But I think also that the focus of, the kind of service we are going to provide to people in the future will change dramatically. And that's also why I'm using this opportunity to do some research around, for instance, PTSD, how hypnosis works for that. I'm writing an article on that topic, and I found some very interesting techniques that I wasn't aware of before, which certainly would enhance my practice, but also I'm hoping that it would be of value to other hypnotherapists. So, Hendrik, tell me a little bit about your new practice there at Solo Oasis. You have done an interview with the owner of Solo Oasis, which I'm sure is coming up soon. Tell me a little bit about that venue and how you work there. Well, I've been so lucky to find an office space there and working there on a commission basis for now. As soon as I get a client, I'll be able to push some money their way for the rental of the room that I've got. It's such a beautiful space. Very well situated, I must say. It's just off the N14 here in the Lanseria area. So it's close to Krugersdorp, Midrand, Johannesburg, Northern Suburbs, Centurion, Pretoria, all within easy reach. And I know people used to travel very far to come and see me. People used to come from Tabzimbi and Nelspruit and all sorts of weird, wonderful places like Secunda and I don't know where else. So yeah, people are prepared to travel. But it is a lovely venue. It's got a beautiful labyrinth, a crescent moon-shaped labyrinth, which is, of course, wonderful once you've done a hypnosis session to just go and take a nice contemplative walk there and collect yourself and integrate some of the suggestions. It's also a great function venue, and I have lots of plans to do some events there, some group hypnosis and all sorts of other things, pandemic dependent, of course. And then, of course, also I would love to start doing some Zoom things. So I will be adapting my website and telling people that I'm also available for Zoom sessions. As a voice artist, I've relied a lot on doing recordings like we used to do in the old days. So I've done quite a few successful sessions, distance sessions using a combination of online consultation, mainly through a WhatsApp call, and then I'd sent some recordings to the clients and they would listen to that at certain points of the session. For instance, in my smoking session, it would work the same way kind of as it works while you are in person with me. And I've had great success with that. But yeah, the venue is really a beautiful, beautiful venue. And I'm full of confidence that, I can pick up the practice and take it to new heights. So, Hendrik, I don't want to take up too much of your time. I know you still have lots of editing to do and graphics to design and articles to research and to write. But tell me, if you had to give a reason why people should use hypnosis first before they go to some of the other modalities, what would that be? Well, I think hypnotherapists are really serious in what they're doing. They're well trained. They have loads of experience, the people who are in full-time practice and even people in part-time practice. And they're really serious about helping you in the shortest space of time and through the most effective possible way. Hypnosis being such a great way to solve so many issues and problems. It's not a cure-all for everything, let's be honest. And sometimes you've got to use it in conjunction with other things. But let's face it, it is the most relaxing way that you can ever have to solve your problems. Because hypnosis is a combination of two things. Very deep relaxation, very sharp concentration. When you do those two things at the same time, you are going to get to those solutions which are inside of you. And you're going to solve your issues and problems. You're going to change your habits. You're going to improve your life. That's guaranteed. Finding the right person, well, you'd have to do a little bit of research, speak to some people, find out what they specialize in, listen to some of my podcast episodes, and you'll also find the right person. A lot of people say the law of attraction works, and I'm sure it does. When you're ready, you'll find the right person. You'll get to the right person. So I wish you all the best for that. And of course, you can use my services too. I'm now online. I'm everywhere. I'm in person. I'm in groups. And I do everything, including stopping smoking. Hendrik, it's been so weird chatting to you, and it is the 1st of April 2021 when this episode is being released, so it's not an April's Fool's joke, but it is real. But yeah, a little bit schizophrenic and a little bit parts therapy, talking to another part of myself, which has been very enlightening. So, Hendrik, thank you for that. Thank you, Hendrik. Oh, it's my pleasure, Hendrik. Thank you, Hendrik. Well, Hendrik, you have a lovely afternoon. You too, Hendrik. Bye, Hendrik. Cheers, Hendrik. Hey, Hendrik. Well, chatting to myself has been a little bit weird and a little bit enlightening. I hope you found it a little bit entertaining too, and that you maybe just learned something. If you want to know more about me and what I do, please go to my website, hendrikbaird.com. There's a lot of information not only about hypnotherapy, but about the other services I provide as well, including Baird Media. Yes, my son and I are in the media business, and we produce podcasts and all sorts of media things. Just contact us and we can help you in so many ways. Okay, well, that's enough for me. You have an hypnotic day.
Hypnosis works. Transforming the mind.